The Cook. A historical fiction of love, identity and fate by S.J. Jepsen. Chapter 8. A Glimpse of the Divide. Seated at a table near the centre of the first-class dining salon, Lydia Weatherby smoothed the delicate silk of her evening gown, a diamond bracelet catching the light as she lifted a crystal glass of champagne to her lips. Menus of ivory vellum gilded in gold leaf stood like silent sentinels at each place setting, their contents barely glanced at by those who already knew what indulgence awaited. Caviar, lobster, pâté de foie gras with truffles. It was not a meal, it was ceremony, decadence by design. The night was as perfect as one could expect. The endless glow of candlelight, the shimmering chandeliers, the soft hum of an orchestra serenading them as the first course was served. Laughter rose and fell around her like music layered over music, the lilt of French and English banter braided with the distant trill of violins. She belonged here. She had been born for this world of elegance and ease. Yet, as she turned her head slightly, her gaze caught something, or rather someone, that made her freeze mid-sip. Kate, dressed in black, balancing a tray of gleaming silverware and steaming plates, moving through the salon with wide, uncertain eyes. Her uniform, though crisp and properly pressed, looked like a shadow among the finery. An interruption, a reminder. Lydia's stomach twisted. The weight of plates piled high with roasted lamb, salmon in mousseline sauce, and delicate appetizers made Kate's arms tremble as she carefully followed the line of stewards, ensuring that each dish was placed in perfect sequence before the elite passengers. She barely had time to register the faces of the guests. Only the flash of jeweled hands, the glint of gold cufflinks, the rustle of satin skirts as they moved slightly to make way for the food. Her fingers burned beneath the weight, as though the silver itself was scorning her presence. She lifted a silver-domed platter, revealing a glistening filet mignon with truffle sauce before an elderly gentleman who barely acknowledged her existence beyond a vague, impatient grunt. Their eyes met for only a second, Lydia and Kate, before Kate quickly averted her gaze, focusing on the tray in her hands. A sharp contrast had been drawn between them. Lydia, dressed in shimmering silk, dining among the elite. Kate, dressed in black, serving them. And for the first time since they had set foot on the Titanic, Lydia did not feel at ease. She set her champagne flute down carefully, deliberately, as though sudden movement might shatter the illusion of distance between them. A whisper, sharp and urgent. "Faster!" someone hissed at Kate from behind. She hurried to clear the next empty plate, but her gloved hands slipped against the polished rim, just slightly, just enough that the clatter of silver against porcelain echoed through the room. A few heads turned, sharply. Her breath caught in her throat, but in an instant she corrected herself, placed the plate down carefully and kept moving. Her spine stiffened, her eyes dropped. She moved as though nothing had happened. No one had noticed, except Lydia. Lydia had spent her entire life surrounded by servants. They were always there, pouring her tea, folding her clothes, fastening her gloves. But never once had she really looked at them. Not as people with stories and bruises and dreams. They were background, necessary, invisible. Tonight she looked. She looked as Kate hurried from table to table, shoulders stiff, eyes darting nervously as she fought to keep up with the practiced grace of the other stewards. Her steps were precise, but not effortless. Her movements correct, but not yet natural. She saw the way Kate's fingers clenched against the heavy silver tray, how the candlelight caught the thin sheen of sweat along her brow, the tiny tremor in her jaw, the determined line of her mouth, and then Kate turned. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, time slowed. A silent acknowledgement passed between them. Recognition, guilt, resentment, all tangled up in one flicker of a glance, a realization that they were now on opposite sides of the divide. Lydia quickly turned away, her stomach twisted, not from embarrassment but from the sudden, uncomfortable realization of her own comfort. The room felt warmer suddenly, thicker, more shallow. She reached for her champagne flute but found that suddenly she had no taste for it. Kate barely had time to process what had just happened before she was pulled back into the rhythm of service. Whatever flicker had passed between them, it was gone in an instant, buried beneath clattering silver soft music and the press of expectation. She moved swiftly and silently, clearing away plates and returning with new courses. Her arms ached, her shoulders screamed, her toes, crammed into tight leather shoes, were beginning to go numb. She watched as first-class passengers sipped wine and laughed, barely noticing the careful orchestration of people ensuring that their world remained flawless. The parade of servers, the silent pouring of sauces, the invisible refolding of dropped napkins, all done without praise, without eye contact, without pause. No one acknowledged the staff. No one met their eyes, except Lydia. Kate had seen recognition flash across her face, a moment of something that felt like guilt, maybe even shame. But it didn't matter. Lydia would wake up tomorrow in her gilded suite, wrapped in silks and surrounded by luxury. Kate, in contrast, would wake up in her modest second-class cabin. Comfortable, yes, but a world away from first-class opulence. And yet, even knowing that, she hadn't faltered. Kate clenched her jaw, straightened her shoulders and moved on to the next table. This was her place for now, but somewhere beneath the weight of the tray and the ache in her arms, a quiet resolve was beginning to form. Not resentment, not even envy, just the flicker of an idea that perhaps, just perhaps, this wasn't the end of her own story, but the opening scene. Next time, in The Cook. She was supposed to change the linens, not wear the silk. But Lydia had other plans. She wasn't just loaning her a gown. She was transforming her. Pearls, satin, the borrowed glow of wealth. For one night, she wasn't the maid. She stepped into their world, just for tonight. Chapter 9, The Mask of Elegance, coming soon.